Professor Irfan Habib, Madam Vice Chancellor, today's guest and author of the book which has just been released, Dr. Laurence Gautier, Professor Shafiq Adwai Saab, Professor Farhat Hassan, my friend, my other friend sitting there in the corner, Professor Corinne Lefebvre, I welcome you too, esteemed teachers, students of AMU, and dear friends. First of all, as the co-host of the program, the Aligarh Society of History and Archaeology, that is ASHA, I would like to welcome Dr. Laurence Gautier, the author of the remarkable monograph which is under discussion today. She is no stranger to AMU, or we for her. Not only she visited our campus on a number of occasions in the past, she also wrote an article which the title I cite, "Why does UGC want to drop M of AMU?" An article which was published in an issue of EPW way back in 2018. Before I start, let me say a few words about ASHA, Aligarh Society of History and Archaeology, which some of us, like Professor Jabir Raza Saab sitting here, Farhat Hassan on the dais, and Manvendra Kumar Pundhir, established around 2018-19. ASHA stands for Dissemination of a Scientific and Secular Interpretation of Our Past. Let me also stress that we, from a very private group, became public only when a communal attack was launched on our alma mater in Kerala by a former student of Aligarh who had come to occupy a position of political significance. During the pandemic, we organized around 200 online lectures, some of which can be found on our ASHA YouTube channel. Please do visit it if you want to hear talks by stalwarts on history. Let me set the tone for today by citing two reviewers of the book, who have already been cited by our esteemed Vice Chancellor. David Lelyveld, in his book, Aligarh's First Generation, he is the person who has actually done work on Aligarh his work is one of the best on Aligarh. Now, he says about this book, which has just been released, that Muslims in all their variety are indeed active citizens of India and constituents of India's historic civilization. I am repeating what my Vice Chancellor had already pointed out. Now, this is something which contradicts today's narrative forwarded by some right-wing supremacists. Another scholar, Margaret Turnau, the author of Emotions and Modernity in Colonial India, believes that this book reveals, and I quote, much needed balanced and nuanced analysis. I will leave most of the analysis of the book for Professor Farhat Hassan, Shafiq Adwai Saab, and of course Professor Irfan Habib to discuss. I will also suggest the audience to refer to the 7 points enumerated by Professor Muhammad Sajjad in his discussion on the book at India International Center a few weeks back. My own limited claim to speak on the book rests simply on the fact that I am not only a teacher, but also a product of one of the Muslim institutions taken up for study by Dr. Gautier in this book. I am neither a student of modern Indian history nor an expert on Aligarh movement. My only contact with Jamia is that apart from my daughter being a student at PG level, news reports and some mutual friends at Jamia keep me informed about it. Aligarh, I have seen from my childhood. First as a son of someone employed here, and then as a student and as a teacher. My views thus represent those of a common reader of the book who is also a non-expert of the field. I do not fully qualify to talk about it. Nevertheless, I stick my neck out. Please forgive me. No doubt, it is a work of its kind. It is amongst very few works dealing exclusively with these two important Muslim institutions of India. And it is excellently written. A reading of this work has enlightened me to many facts of which I was unaware. However, I will take this occasion to emphasize only those points which my limited knowledge finds problematic. One of the first issues is its tilt, which I suspect it has. In my limited opinion, the work is more inclined towards Jamia Millia Islamia, which in the book comes out as progressive, nationalist, laboratory of composite culture, while AMU is traditional, feudal, laid back, and elitist. Further, it tries to argue that the decline in Jamia values was a direct result of more direct recruitments from AMU, which in a way led to its AMUization of sorts. Such impressions start with the cover itself, where a photograph of 3 young kids in white flannel pajamas, very unlike the Aligarh cut pajamas prevailing at AMU, wearing sherwanis and jawahar caps, hopefully which are more nationalistic than Turkish caps of AMU, prepares the reader for what to find in the pages within. The book starts with a chapter on Jamia, entitled suggestively and setting the trend to follow. And the title is A Laboratory for Composite Culture. Following 2 chapters are on AMU. First entitled Sifting Sir Syed's Legacy from the Arsenal of Muslim India to a Symbol of India's National Integration, ending with a question mark. The second chapter on AMU following it is, and I quote the title, Re-Legitimizing Minority Rights, the Campaign for Aligarh Muslim University's Minority Status. Together, these 3 chapters forward an impression that Jamia had or has nationalistic credentials, being close to Gandhiji and Indian National Congress, while AMU, a former Muslim League fortress, is just a symbolism for a minority institution. It stays unsaid or unemphasized that Jamia too, since long, had been vying to be recognized as a minority institution. Another argument made is that in spite of Jamia being close to Gandhiji and the Congress and having claims to nationalism, as against Aligarh's claim to being an institution whose very purpose was creation of, and I cite, loyalists and obedient servants, the government of independent India preferred AMU and neglected Jamia, which had to wait long to gain the status of a central university. This assertion does have a merit, but more arguments were needed to delve into the causes of this neglect. Surely, vote bank politics does not sufficiently explain this. Chapter 4, entitled Resisting Minority Politics, Holding on to Composite Nationalism, Jamia Millia Islamia in post-Nehruvian period, furthers the same line of argument. Let me, at this stage, refer to figures and tables included in the book. Speaking at India International Center a few weeks back, Professor Muhammad Sajjad had rightly claimed that the charts included in the book are eye-opening and help us understand the story. I concur with him. They are quite revealing indeed. But indeed, if seen independently and in isolation. However, let me take a contrarian view of them from him. To my eyes, and I said that these are the eyes of a non-expert, they too reflect a certain bias. There are 19 figures, that is, photos and charts, apart from the image on the cover. All 6 photos included in chapter 1 relate to Jamia. Naturally, the chapter is on Jamia. 7 in chapter 2 and 3 are related to AMU. Both the chapters are on AMU. Of the remaining 6, they are of both the institutions, perhaps equally. No issues. The devil lies in the details. When one is comparing 2 institutions, the photographs, in my opinion, should be chosen accordingly to highlight either distinctiveness or commonness. If for Jamia, in the book, we have learning by doing, or children engaged in hands-on activity, children's magazine, etc. For AMU, we have charts like places of origin of AMU alumni who moved to Pakistan, occupation of those who moved to Pakistan, and 3 charts of AMU students' origins, type of locality, states, and top cities from where they hail. And then 2 charts, one on high proportions of upper caste students and those of Western UP. No comparative charts of JMI are included or discussed. I have similar issues with the tables. In all, there are 11. The first, for example, is on permanent grants for AMU before independence. That is 1943-44. What about JMI? Any comparisons? Surely, one chart with figure for 1 year from one university will not tell the entire story. Secondly, the book is on the period after partition. Any comparative figures for after independence? Did the grants increase? If so, then at what ratio? That is missing. The second table is of AMU alumni in Pakistani public institutions. Surely some alumni from JMI must have also migrated. If not, this will be an interesting fact. Secondly, AMU alum also settled elsewhere, say US or the Gulf. A strong AMU alumni association exists in Washington, DC. Why pick up only Pakistan when the study deals with after partition with no cutoff date? The last two tables are on women, but here too, the one on women representation at AMU amongst PG students pertains only for 1960. The one for JMI is alternatively for men-women distribution in university department for 1990-91. What is the relation between the two tables if you just read them independent of what has been written in the chapters? Table 4.1 on AMU alumni amongst JMI 1991-92 compares intake from DU, JNU, Jamia, other universities. The argument made in accompanying text is that such inclusion of substantial number of AMU people changed JMI in many ways. It made JMI as regressive and elitist as AMU. But I would like to remind that JMI always enjoyed or suffered such inclusions and incursions from Aligarh since its inception, some of which have also been discussed in the book. JMI was carved out of AMU and both were founded as universities in 1920. Jamia first functioned from Aligarh before being transferred to Delhi. Mahatma Gandhi came to AMU in 1920, the same year that AMU and JMI were recognized as universities. Gandhiji was made the first life member of AMU Students' Union. Under his active charge, the same year JMI was founded. Amongst the men inspired by him, who became its founders, were Nawab Muhammad Ismail Khan, Dr. Zakir Hussain, Maulana Muhammad Ali Jauhar, Mukhtar Ahmad Ansari, and Abdul Majid Khwaja. Most of them were also closely related with AMU. Take Nawab Ismail Khan, who was a founding committee member of Jamia. He had also been a member of All India Muslim League since its foundation in 1906, which itself was founded by the efforts of, amongst others, Nawab Bakharul Mulk, who was related to Aligarh. In 1934 and then in 1947, he was the Vice Chancellor of AMU. On November 30th, 1948, he was succeeded by Dr. Zakir Hussain as VC AMU. He stayed so till 1956 and helped AMU recover its position after independence. But in 1920, he was also a founding member of Jamia. If he helped the birth of Jamia, he steered Aligarh through its most challenging times. I have tried to see other examples of people who were related with both the places. Thus to say that the influx of AMU people diluted the progressive nature of Jamia is at best a wishful thinking. Just as painting AMU as a center of Ashraf and Jamia open to all sections of society is an oversimplification. I am pointing out these facts, which to me as a lay reader appears to be certain points which rattled me. I'm not saying that the entire work is full of such things. It is an excellent work, but my job here was only to pinpoint about those things which I found problematic. In the last, I would like to say that AMU has also given 3 Muslim women the chance to serve as vice chancellors. The first of them from AMU was Professor Anwar Jahan Zubairi, who became the first Muslim vice chancellor at Calicut. The second woman from AMU to occupy the chair was Madam Najma Akhtar, who occupied the chair as the first woman vice chancellor at Jamia. Professor Naima Khatoon, again of AMU, is the first woman VC at AMU. Hope a day would come when such progress reaches Jamia and an alum from there becomes a VC of some university. Thank you.